Well, happy Saturday, folks. The real Captain Kirk here. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here in downtown Bethlehem, 2nd of November. Again, a blue sky day here, heading for some frost and freezes here this weekend here after a warm week. Don't forget, tonight we fall back 2 o'clock this morning. Again, so gain an hour of sleep here. Thought we'd recap, a lot to talk about here today, so we're going to move at warp speed here. But recapping the severe weather season as of 1 November here. Tornadoes, as usual, they're going to remain in this category of the most in 13 years, 27% versus last year, 39% much above average, top 15% of history. Ironically, hail was down. So again, a lot of tornadoes and most destructive in 13 years, yet hail was actually down 23% and 11% below average. Wind, while down a bit from last year, was still well above average. Drought obviously exploding here. Again, dry to drought phase in the U.S. now is at 87% of the country. You see all that map left here is yellows are dry and oranges and reds are more drought. Again, versus June 4th when we were near historic lows of only 26% of the country in drought phases. So a huge change here. Good news is this pattern may be finally breaking down here. Also some good news here with the flu season, the slowest start in 3 years as expected. Again, so goes the Southeast, kind of where flu will start every year. Again, really, really cold back in 2022, and flu was just epic. We had a huge spike peak at Thanksgiving, very early and very intense. A little bit warmer, again, more average in 2023, and so we had about a 4-week later start to the peak of Christmas. And then this year, just very, very warm. Southeast warmest in 5 years, much above average. So again, good news is flu is pretty much non-existent here. So we're expecting a weaker January peak. So again, keep it out of the holiday shopping season for most of us. A recap of the hurricane season here. Nothing new. We've been in a downward MJO cycle phase here that suppresses Atlantic activity. The good news, good news is if you want more storms, we're getting a potential here development with a more favorable MJO cycle. So got to watch something here in the Caribbean. Hurricane Center is saying 80% chance this will become Tropical Storm Raphael and may even become a hurricane, looking at some of the models. If you're in the Gulf Coast, you got to watch it. Again, some models are taking it off the coast of west coast of Florida toward Louisiana and then getting caught up in a front heading up into the Northeast. So we'll see here. Looking at the 14-day storm track again, you see that system there in the Western Caribbean, and then again we'll animate the maps here. You can see that it generally heads in the direction of Florida, then off the coast, then maybe weakens as it head toward Louisiana and gets caught up in a front. We'll see here. Again, lots of pass. If it doesn't get caught in that front, then it could veer left and head toward Mexico. But right now it looks like it's going to potentially hit the United States, which is pretty rare. We've only had 3 landfalling hurricanes in November over the last 175 years or so. Looking at last week's summary here, week ending tonight. Now this big map is trends versus last year, how our retail customers look at it. So week ending 2 November. Hot week, very, very cold week this time last year, and this week flip-flopped. 10.2 warmer than last year, warmest in 8 years, second hottest in 39 years, much above average. Haven't said this much, but 8% wetter than last year, wettest in 3 years, 16th driest, so just a little bit below average. But again, finally seeing a breakdown in this pattern. Snowfall down 87% versus last year, 12th least. Again, pattern of that is changing as well. Maps inset left are the trends versus average. One thing we start to look at this time of year is it's always the fly in the ointment because you can predict all these cycles, but unfortunately none of them do a very good job of predicting what the polar vortex is going to do. So you see it's kind of symmetrical here, and then toward the end it becomes a little more wobbly and ragged. And you see that wobble is more toward, more toward Alaska. So again, that shows that we potentially could have some colder weather heading into the western half of the country, and we'll actually see that reflected in the forecast maps here. Look at this week here again, now 3 through 9 November here. Tale of two halves, warm east. Now again, we've been in this very fast pattern where we've had really warm and midweek periods and then cooler like this weekend here where we go from 80 on Thursday, Friday down to the 60s and even frost and freezes here tonight and Monday morning. So cooler on the weekends. We look at rainfall maps here. You haven't said this in a very, very long time. 377% wetter than last year, wettest in 6 years, third wettest in 39 years, so much above average rainfall. We'll take it. Again, look at all that snow in the west. The snow also up 892% versus last year, 14th most in 39 years. So cold, wet, wintry west, and again, warm, and we'll start to see again this precip will start to head into the eastern U.S. here as we get toward the weekend. Looking at 5 November, again, we won't mention the date by name because you two folks don't like it when you talk about things that are like this. But again, this is just the weather map here. So again, we got to watch Hurricane Raphael down there. It'll be down north, south of Cuba. Again, heading generally north. So we'll see if it gets caught up in a front and heads into the east where we need a ton of rain for sure. It's been just so bone dry. Tail of two halves again here for the Tuesday time frame. Cooler west behind the front and warm and windy in the east, and then very, very stormy there from Texas into Michigan. We look at the 6-day snowfall trends here, 2 through 7 November here. So a little bit of a system in the northwest Rockies that expands a bit into central Rockies, and then heavier Monday in Colorado. Another system in the northwest, and then again that heads back to Colorado. So Colorado, Utah, again, you're going to get some early snow. We kind of expected this. They'd have a snowy front half of the year, November, December, and then they may dry out as we go to the latter half of winter. So January, February, March, all this may shift more toward the north central Great Lakes, New England, Northeast. So again, we aggregate these trends here. Again, about 916% more snow than last year, 16th most in 39 years. About average, again, but 12% of the U.S. population getting some snow over this 6-day period here. In the next 2 weeks here, it just shows, again, we've been yellow bars, meaning it was just much, much less snow than last year, and blue bars, much, much more snow than last year. So we're definitely seeing an uptick here. Again, a hint of a slight influence of that polar vortex being a little more toward the Alaska, Northwest Canada, a little bit of a wobble there. Looking at next week, 10 through 16 November here, middle November here, same general pattern. Again, warm east. Again, we're just getting these warm midweek periods and a little bit cooler toward the weekends, but hot. 2.3 warmer than last year, second warmest in 39 years. Rainfall still way up, 158% wetter than last year, fifth wettest in 39, much above average. Good news is that's heading more toward, again, another heavy rain batch there in the Midwest, but also look at all that rain here in the east, northeast. We'll take it. It hasn't rained here probably in forever. It seems like at least 2 months without any significant rain, and very, very heavy rain and snow in the northwest. So pattern is clearly breaking down here from the warm drought cycle we had been in for the last couple months, and that'll continue to do so as we go through the latter part of November into December. Aggregating these trends here through the 16th of November. Again, general theme, if you're going to look for cold spots, it's going to be in the western half of the U.S., and maybe Eastern Europe and Northeast Siberia. And the world rainfall, precip, snow trends here again. Very, very heavy snow all across the northern hemisphere, northern tier here from Alaska to Greenland to Siberia. And very heavy rain in South America. They'll take it. Their new corn crops going in again, so they'll very much take this rain. This is a huge plus for them as their crops are going in the ground. So, folks, again, have a great week, and we will see you here again this time next week.